Hello, dear
Hello.
students. Our esteemed resource person, Dr. Fathima EV, Pramod Kumar KV, IQAC coordinator, principal, Dr. Ajita V. Today we are going to have a webinar on the topic, the many Englishes. We have got an esteemed resource person, Dr. Fathima EV. Dr. Fathima is Associate Professor and Head, Department of English, Krishna Menon Memorial Government Women's College. She completed MA and PhD from University of Calicut. In addition to that, Dr. Fathima has got a certificate in teaching English as second language from University of Surrey, a prestigious institution in the
Sorry.
UK. She is a well-known scholar, writer, translator. All of you have known about her when she got a prestigious award, Crossword Prize in 2018. Dr. Fathima translated a well-known Malayalam novel, Manushana Oramukham, written by Subhash Chandran, and it was published with the title A Preface to Man by the prestigious publishing house HarperCollins. And for this, she was awarded V. Abdullah Translation Award in 2017 and Crossword Prize in 2018. In addition to this, Dr. Fathima translated a collection of stories authored by M. Mugundan, Delhi, a soliloquy. It was published by Amazon Westland, a well-known publishing firm. Then, Collected Stories of Gracie is going to be published soon. Currently, Dr. Fathima is co-editing with Professor Skaria Sakaria, a well-known great scholar. And the name of that series is Malayalam Critical Discourses. Dr. Fathima has presented many papers at national and international universities such as University of Gutenberg, University of Malaga, University of Grenada, University of Florida, etc. She is a creative writer also. She has written poems and short fictions. Those creative expressions have been published in well-known periodicals like The Quint, CEA Magazine, South Texas University Journal. We are all extremely happy to have such a person of distinguished caliber and great academic excellence. So, I welcome you, madam, to this function. Next, I welcome Pramod Kumar KV, IQAC coordinator. He is part and parcel of our department. Then, for formality's sake, I extend welcome to Pramod Kumar also. At the end of this program, the principal will join. Right now, our principal is busy with certain procedures associated with admission. Well, in advance, for formality's sake, I extend welcome to the principal, Dr. Ajita V. All of us know that these sort of digital interventions are carried out in order to tide over difficulties raised by that unprecedented phenomenon, somewhat dangerous phenomenon, COVID-19. It is not a full substitute. Probably it is a partial substitute for what we have lost on account of the coming of COVID-19. Still, we try our best and do activities like this in order to widen the horizon of knowledge and experience of all people related to teaching and learning. So students will definitely benefit out of an interaction with a distinguished scholar like Dr. Fathima EV. Personally speaking, while I was doing MA at Paleyad Calicut University Center, Fatima was a research scholar, so there is that familiarity with this well-known scholar. Then I know that those who read newspapers will definitely remember her name. While she was awarded Crossword Prize, there was a detailed feature in the newspaper Madhubhumi. Then, in addition to that, there were news in the Hindu also, on account of the layout and presentation of news. What appeared in the Hindu may not be noticed by all people, but the detailed feature which was published in Madhubhumi must have been read by many of you. So I believe that she is a well-known name to you. And now you are going to have an occasion to listen to the ideas which are going to be articulated by Dr. Fatima. So I extend you a welcome once again. Now, I propose to speak a few words related to webinar series.
Thank you, Register, and good morning to all. Our resource person today, dear Fatima, and my dear students, for eagerly waiting to listen to the words of our chief guest. Somebody is not. All of you, please mute your mic, otherwise there will be a lot of disturbances. Okay, only when you speak you can unmute, and when you are listening, please mute. That is some of the protocol we have to observe in this kind of platform for the smooth and transparent, transactional words and ideas. So I am so happy today to have a very, eminent resource person, Semet starts to speak a lot about many Englishes. Though I'm speaking so formal about Fatima, calling her Fatima Madam, etc. in this platform, actually the relationship is somewhat different. Right from 1992, when I entered into the gate of Paleyad Department of English, still I can remember Fatima was in the forefront fighting for some of the causes and problems of the students there. Making such kind of the violent riots with the authorities there. And we also joined her, and we all got arrested by the police, and we went to the police stations, and after making the signature there, we were released. And then only we have to face the interview procedure. So it's highly memorable. The first entry was rather earmarked by the manner of a leader, and Fatima in my mind is really in having such a great position, just fighting for some of the issues of the students there and all. And after that, we were together in some of the students' movements, raising the problems of the students there and all. And this long years of bondage, I'm sure that it is really something different, a kind of, very common kind of, not formal, but very informal relationship. And so I'm very happy. And one more thing I like to tell in this context that normally when we just conduct webinars or seminars or whatever you just call according to the situations there, normally there is a tendency for the people to seek the resource persons from outside the jurisdiction of our locality, thinking that they are the people capable of speaking well and interact well with the students involved. But I invite the attention of the students to some of the details and profiles of the resource persons we have invited for this webinar. Some even you now got some picture of Fatima's profile and how differently her activism is really being just designed and configured, and all. You just got such information. And of course, we had even such resource persons having such a Guinness record. He is from none other than Kannur. So, in the field of academics, there is a kind of, untouchability regarding the resource persons just all around us. So, through this webinar, termed Gnosis, Latin, the term meant knowledge, we redefined or corrected that mistakes in the academic field, the thinking that the jasmines in the premises can spread as fragrance. And that is the reason why Fatima is with us today. And we started our, webinar series right from 22nd of this month, not this month, November, but October. And it was, the webinar series was inaugurated by Dr. M. Sridharan, the HRDC director of Kannur University. And right from there, we have a lot of, resource persons in all the 10 departments, including physical education, and the library also just conducted a particular program. So, as stated by Register in the beginning, a pandemic season is not something that is to seize every activism or academic exercises in the campus, but rather we have to find some alternatives to substitute the standstill atmosphere and to make it more, vibrant and more, academic. And that's why we planned this webinar series. And now, looking back, actually, this ought to have stopped it on Saturday. Saturday is the last day. But due to some of the inconvenience of dear Fatima, we have postponed this to today. And all these kind of, the different types of webinars we have already conducted. Highly memorable. Students got a lot of knowledge, and it created, I'm sure, that a kind of, resurgence on the minds of everybody. And today also, I'm sure that Fatima, she's, though having such a great profile and all, she talks like somebody who is very near to her heart with the language, not with any kind of such artificial manipulations, but somebody who is speaking as a friend in front of us, somebody who can test the hearts of the people. That's what I understood. And I'm so happy that Fatima is with us today. And with all the, the petals of those great, great friendship I had with this dear friend, let me invite Fatima to our midst and to talk to our students about her, expertise with this subject and all. Thank you, Fatima, for your readiness to come with us and just talk with our students. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pramod. Thank you, both of them, dear friends, and a formal address, dear principal, Ajita ma'am. And my dear friends. This is not particularly because Pramod mentioned about, their friends, and he asked me to talk to you as a friend. And this is what I'm going to do as well, because we are looking at language and we are looking at English. The title itself says, the title of the talk says, today I'm just going to have a talk about what is this idea about English. And English is always seen as some scary most of the time, something which is unapproachable, something which has to be done during school, especially and college as well, something which has to be finished off as quickly as approach. Most of the time, students approach it as something that can, though scary, definitely something which has to be tackled because marks are also important. Students who find English to be, as I would like to put it informally, curatic. Not necessarily. It is all about your attitude, because we're not talking like mode of English and with a capital English. Like once upon a time, we used to talk about, the best example today would be Shashi Tharoor in English. So English more or less like what used to be called a standardized English, which used to be called, which had a norm called the King's English. So no longer do even the English people would not be speaking. I think only the colonial, because we come from a colonial heritage, we are still weighed down by the colonial heritage. Probably talking, speaking proper English or King's English. So we don't necessarily have to go back to the King's English. Those times are gone, and I don't think even in England they will tolerate if you speak King's English, except in perhaps in Parliament or in a really formal platform, on a really formal platform. I don't think King's appreciated. It is about foregrounding or focusing on your regional English, your regional background, your regional heritage, etc. So we can't actually now talk about English with a capital English like how it used to be associated with the British colonial rule and of the British, or the highest standard of which would be King's English or BBC English, as we used to call it informally. So no longer do we, even if you listen to BBC, when we were children, we were asked to refine our pronunciation by constantly listening to BBC. In many ways, it would have helped us because you're speaking about language, and when you're talking about language, for that matter, we are also speaking about the culture. You can't learn about a language, or you can't learn a language without knowing about the culture of the particular place from where this language is originated. We will never understand unless we have a general grasp of the society, culture, and the people. And within, even in England, nobody will King's English and standardized English. I have studied there for some time, so I went to learn about teaching English, and that is after I did my PhD, after teaching for many years. But I was working, I was living abroad at that particular time, and my PhD didn't matter because it is in literature. My PhD was actually a burden when I went to the or when I went to schools where I offered to teach English, and I was a non-native. So when you have native speakers teaching English and you're competing with them, it's often difficult unless you have a specific or a particular kind of certification which is required. So you need a certificate after you finish your MA, after you finish your MPhil and your PhD and everything, you have to getting a teaching certificate, a basic teaching certificate for teaching English. And but that is like a passport. Wherever I go, I can teach English with that passport. But the difference is that it used to be a bit demeaning for me to come down because we go with these pretensions about you being a lecturer in English and you think you're capable of teaching English, and then you're told that no, you don't have the basic qualification to teach English. Then it's a culture shock it was a culture shock for me, definitely. Whether it is that for other people. So by necessity, I had to go and do this certification. And when I went abroad, what I realized was that I'm going to teach. I had practice classes like how in you have the practical lessons, you have the teaching practice, as we call it here. So when I went for those teaching practices, before the teaching practices, what I realized going to teach group people who had come to England, people who had come to London to learn English and also get their their non-native like me to get their permanent residency or all kinds of residencies. So I was actually going to teach a set of people from different parts of the world speaking, not speaking English, family basic English, even not even basic English, but they wanted to learn English, and we were as teacher trainees, we were teaching them. Then first thing I realized that when I'm quite used to understanding foreigners speaking. Because before I went, I thought I was very confident. I knew that I could speak English. I knew that I could teach English. Also thought that, because my husband is in business, I was constantly meeting a lot of foreigners. So I knew I could get accents right, etc., etc. It was not difficult at all. But when I went there, it was in class, it was a cut of me. Because for the first time, I was the only non-native, I was a non-English person, non-native person, but the rest of them were all from England, my classmates. And what I realized that I could listen to teachers quite quickly because, quite well, because the teachers were all speaking in a sort of a standardized, different kinds of standardized English, which we are familiar with. So we didn't have that much of a problem. And speaking the kind of language that we would be speaking, but of course the accents would be different depending on where they were coming from. But overall, it was understandable, understandable and quite easy for, it's like better English, that's all. Like many of our teachers, some of the teachers would be speaking in a more standardized language, more standardized accent, and that would be the kind of English that we're talking about when to teachers. And that was not the case when I was mingling with my classmates. In fact, I didn't understand any of them. I couldn't understand what they were speaking, except one or two people. I just couldn't get their accents right. It was like being in a country or being in a classroom with people speaking all kinds of languages other than English. So that's when I said English is, there are so many Englishes in England itself, in London itself, because they had come from different parts of London and they were speaking with prominent accents, and they were not apologetic about it. They didn't excuse about it. They made no excuses about it. They were very comfortable in their skins, very comfortable in their languages, in their accents. So they didn't try to change it for me. They didn't try to change it for any person. In fact, they probably did not realize that they had an accent. For me, it was like speaking in the midst of people who spoke Greek, not English. So I went and spoke to my supervisor, my teacher, and I told him that I'd rather stop this course because I don't think I can proceed. If I don't understand my own classmates, how do I understand? And I've been teaching English. If I don't know Englishes, how am I supposed to speak? Talk to people who will come with so many different accents. So he sort of consoled me, saying that yours is. In fact, when the teaching practice starts, you will realize that the students will understand your English better than the others, because yours is a variety of English which is slow, which is different from the English people tendency, because they're speaking about, even we have a tendency when we speak Malayalam here, especially towards the Malabar area, actually. We speak Malayalam very fast. And we also eat up a lot of things in the process. Probably we don't realize that because we speak so fast. പറഞ്ഞതുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് ചിലപ്പോൾ അത് റിയലൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നേ ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. പടപടയിലല്ലേ നമ്മുടെ മലയാളം പറയാം. അതിന് നീന് നാനെന്ന് കേൾക്കും ആളുകൾ പറയും. നാനാന്ന് കുറെ കേൾക്കും, കുറെ ശബ്ദങ്ങൾ കേൾക്കുന്നാന്ന് പുറത്തുനിന്ന് തെക്കുന്ന് വരുന്ന ഞങ്ങളെ ഫ്രണ്ട്സ് ഒക്കെ പറയാം. കുറെ നീന സൗണ്ട്, കുറെ നാനാ സൗണ്ട്, കുറെ ഞാൻ സൗണ്ട് കേൾക്കും. And it's so fast that they can't keep pace with our Malayalam. The problem with us is that when we try to speak English, we try to speak at the same speed, which we may not be capable of doing because the structures of language that we learn we may not be very sure. We may not be very sure whether you use I got into the train, on the train, or am I inside the train, etc., etc. These prepositions can kill you, and you may stop in the middle of talk and wonder whether it is in or on, did I say it right or not, etc., etc. Because you're not speaking the language that you're born with. You're speaking a language which you picked up in school, or picked up in school as well, because sometimes when the students come to our college, we know that they didn't pick up properly at all, and you have to actually relearn the whole system, maybe because our system is different. But I realized when I did my course, I realized that at the end of this thing, I realized that often what my supervisor said at the beginning, right, might far understandable for the students, because they were not used to different kinds of Englishes, and they were like me. They were not used to different kinds of Englishes and English which were very English, which was being eaten while spoken, while people were speaking the language, like how we do in Malayalam's case. But we have an advantage. I always tell my students, we have an advantage in Malabar when we speak because we Malayalam also without stressing too much. You must have realized we don't say Malayalam, we speak Malayalam like how we would speak we wouldn't speak Malayalam like how with emphasis. നമ്മൾ ഉറപ്പിച്ചിട്ടല്ലല്ലോ മലയാളം പറയുന്നത് തന്നെ. അവിടെ പോകുന്നു നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നില്ലല്ലോ, നമ്മൾ ക്ലിയർ ആയിട്ട് പറയുന്നില്ലല്ലോ. നമ്മൾക്ക് അവിടെ പോകാം, നമുക്ക് അവിടെ പോകാം നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നില്ലല്ലോ. നമ്മൾ പറയുമ്പോ എങ്ങനെയാ, ഞാനിപ്പോ പറയുന്നില്ലല്ലോ എന്ന് പറയുന്നില്ല, എന്തൊരു സ്പീഡ് I'm consciously slowing down. I always, when for my MA students come in, I always tell them, you'll take 2-3 days or a week to get used to my speed. I think fast and I speak. The students will understand after a point of time. Students, initially it is difficult for them, but they'll get the hang of it and they'll quickly take, because that is how we were all taught, and that is how we all learned to take lecture notes. We not looking at the pages we will take. All of you, Reggie will probably know about it. Also, Pramod, all of us would have managed to take the classes lecture notes verbatim. Word by word, we would have done that, because it's a your mind, you train your hands to speak with the move with what you're hearing and what you're registering in your mind. In Malayalam, like as I said earlier, അവിടെ പോകുന്നില്ല, നമ്മൾ മെല്ലെ മെല്ലെ പറയുന്നില്ല, എന്താണ് ഇവിടെ വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത് എന്നൊന്നും നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നില്ല. നമ്മൾ പറയുന്ന എന്താ ഇവിടെ വന്നിനെ എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ ഫാസ്റ്റ് ആണ് നമ്മൾ പറയാം. ഈ ഫാസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് പറയുന്നത് കൊണ്ടും മലയാളം പറയുന്നത് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു പുഴ ഒഴുകുന്നത് പോലെയാണ് മലയാളം പറയുന്നത് കൊണ്ടും. Probably there is an advantage for us because we don't stress our Malayalam so much. So English, which requires a different kind of stressing, may not interfere. Our Malayalam may not interfere when we actually learn to speak English. It's only a matter of speaking English. Is also, we always worry English and we try to make it so raw, and it becomes really difficult to continue. Like in our Bangalore days, interview അയാൾ ഇംഗ്ലീഷില്ലേ, ഭയങ്കര ഫേമസ് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് അല്ലേ, നിവിൻ പോളി ഇന്റർവ്യൂവിന് പോകുമ്പോൾ ഒരു ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, ആ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് മലയാളികൾ പറയാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുന്ന ഇംഗ്ലീഷ്, അത് വലിയ വലിയ കടിച്ച പൊട്ടാത്ത വാക്കുകളിലുള്ള നമ്മള് മലയാളം സിനിമകളിൽ ഉപയോഗിച്ച് പല വാക്കുകൾ മലയാള സിനിമകളിൽ എറനസ്ലി കുറെ കാലം നമ്മൾ കൊണ്ടു നടന്ന നമ്മളെ സൂപ്പർ സ്റ്റാറുകൾ സംസാരിച്ച് വലിയ വലിയ വാക്കുകളുള്ള വലിയ ഇംഗ്ലീഷുകളാണ് നമ്മൾ പറയാൻ നോക്കി പുസ്തകത്തിൽ പറയുന്നത്. So often it is difficult. You have to speak. What I realized that when I went abroad was that I'm speaking because I'm speaking about my experience, so that you will understand how difficult it is to speak English. But until you decide to speak, it is a matter of you deciding to speak. You may speak wrongly, you may make a lot, but always mind that you're learning, you're trying your best with a language that you're not born with. It is a language that you picked up. You're actually doing a service to yourself and to the language. More number of students, more number of people speak English, the better it is for the language. So actually you're doing, because they can also, English speakers all over the world can across the world, English is spoken by so many millions or billions of people, etc. So the more number of people join to speak, the better for the language. But the problem is that we have to decide that we are going to speak or not. So it's just a matter of you deciding to speak. No one speaks. Just imagine that, think of how you speak Malayalam. If you're required Malayalam on stage, for instance, but on the class Malayalam പറയേണ്ടി വരുന്നത് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ മലയാളം ചിലപ്പോൾ ഫോർമൽ മലയാളം പറയാൻ നമുക്ക് ഭയങ്കര ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട്. ഇതേ English. So English is also about formal language doesn't come easily to us. Same way, English doesn't come easily to us, because English is a language that we picked up and consciously trying to speak in. But the problem with us is that we learn English from the books. So the Englishes that we learn from different parts of the world from books, and some, one can no longer can we talk about English with a capital English. You got it, Smita? Book? I'm sorry, just a second. So we can't, no longer can we speak about English with a capital English, because see, these are not very structured thoughts at all. I'm just talking like how I would talk to a group of friends, so that you would also be, I know, perhaps I'm hoping that you would also be inspired to start speaking in English. English വെറുതെ നമ്മളൊരു കടമ്പാന്ന് വലിങ്ങനെ വിചാരിക്കുന്നുണ്ടാ നമുക്ക് വലിയ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാണ്. Any language is difficult. If you go to Tamil Nadu, because there is nobody who, perhaps you with there aren't anyone who speaks English to you or Malayalam to you, you will automatically use either English or Tamil. Tamil പഠിക്കും നമ്മള്, because and now no can we make excuses like I'm not familiar. We are familiar because we have the media, we have the mass media before us. We're used to films, we watch films in different languages, perhaps understanding everything, perhaps not understanding something, subtitles, etc., etc. So one can't say that you are not familiar with languages. You are familiar with languages, but it is only your understanding, your decision to speak that language or not. Our problem is, as we said, no English with there is no longer an English with a capital E, no King's English, no BBC English, because even in England there are so many Englishes, so many different regional varieties, and from the north, the people from the north may not understand the people from the south quickly. The same way, Welsh English and Scottish English are totally different. No, the basics is the same, but the way it is spoken, it is totally different. So one can't say that there itself they have so many Englishes, and we are talking about the territorialization of the colonial enlightenment, which extended much beyond the small British Isles, Island Kingdom, then went beyond Europe went across, extended to Asia, Africa, etc. So we are talking about the colonial enterprise, which was responsible for the spread of English. So English is no longer belongs to the English people. It's a global resource. It's a global heritage. And that is why English is given, we have a very ambiguous relationship with English. We love English on the one hand, but we also constantly see it as part of the binary, either English or Malayalam. Do we speak English or Malayalam? So it's always about what should be, either or relationship, binary relationship. In this binary, when you have a binary relationship, when you're pairing two things, there is always the hierarchization or, foregrounding or giving an emphasis, more emphasis to when we talk about man, woman. We don't talk about woman, man. We always talk about man, woman. Man/woman. So that itself talks about the gender relations. And then we talk about English and Malayalam. So English and Malayalam, that also talks about, that is also about when you have a binary like that, English and Malayalam, automatically you think English is hierarchized. In the hierarchy, English is on top and Malayalam is the thing. It is all a matter of choice, In particular situations, Malayalam is more important. In particular situations, English is more important. It's very difficult to speak in a formal Malayalam. When we have some program or something, often it is difficult. So I speak like how I speak in the same way, in the same manner, in an informal manner. I do that. But there are formal occasions which demand formal Malayalam. So formal Malayalam is difficult for me, whereas ordinary Malayalam is okay for me. It's you look at English in that manner, probably you'll be able to do it better. I never could, in the flow of conversation, I never could really emphasize on how don't stress on the Malayalam in Malabar, and so it is easier for us. Just as an example, ഞാൻ ബാങ്കിൽ പോയില്ല എന്ന് തെക്കുള്ള ആള് പറയുന്നു. എനിക്ക് അവിടെ വരാൻ ഒക്കത്തില്ല, പറയാം എനിക്ക് വരാൻ അവിടെ ഒക്കത്തില്ല എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക്കലി ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് വരുമ്പോൾ ഐ കനോട്ട് ഗോ ദെയർ എന്ന് വരും. ഒന്ന് ഉറപ്പിച്ചോളി നമ്മളത്. ബിക്കോസ് അത് മലയാളത്തിൽ എങ്ങനെയാണോ നമ്മൾ ഓർമ്മിക്കുന്നത് അതേപോലെ നമ്മൾ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ എത്തുമ്പോഴും ഉറപ്പിച്ചോളി. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ പറയുന്ന സമയത്ത് തൃശ്ശൂരിലുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ സംസാരിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ മാഹി വീസേ തൃശ്ശൂരിലുള്ള, ബിക്കോസ് സിംഗ് സോങ് പോലെയുള്ള ഉള്ളതുകൊണ്ട് തൃശ്ശൂരിലുള്ള ഒരാള് ചോദിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അവിടെ പോവാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ വരുമ്പോ വി കാൺ ഗോ ദേർ എന്ന് വന്നു, ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക്കലി ദ ട്യൂൺ കംസ്, ബിക്കോസ് വി the interference of our mother is always there, whether we like it or not, we'll always there. I may very often I have recognized that sometimes when I think that I have been speaking in a carefully, speaking in a proper manner, if I record it, I'll realize that it is like Malayalam. My English is so full of Malayalam, so much of an interference of Malayalam will come in English. It is informed by Malayalam. It is accented by Malayalam. What I realize is that often why we find it difficult because we want to speak bookish English. We are about different kinds of Englishes. First of all, what we must recognize that it is different kinds of Englishes. Englishes in England itself, Englishes, varieties of English in Australia, varieties of English in England, varieties of English in different parts of Asia, varieties of English even in, we talk about Indian English. When you go online and when you're doing a Word document, you have language choice. Automatically language choice would be, of course, the word choice would be US English. But often when you're writing a paper, you may require to change it to British English because you cannot, your supervisor or your teacher may mark you wrong when you use the spelling COLOUR for color, whereas the British American English would, which is simplified, would give it as COLOR rather than COLOUR. So your supervisor who expects you to use British may automatically mark it as wrong. But you have a choice when you're doing your Word document. You have a choice, and you can change the language, and you can change it to either Indian English, because I'm translator, I'm Indian English, British English, etc. But even in Indian English, do we speak the same English in North America, North India? Do we speak the same English in South India? Do we speak the same English as the Tamilians do? Do we Malayali speak like how Tamilians do? Do Malayalis? I'm only speaking about spoken. I'm not talking about English. Written English is more or less standardized. But are we talking about? Does a Malayali speak English like how called the Tamilian speaks, or the Gujarati speaks, or the Bengali speaks, etc. We all speak different accents with different accents. So we've actually, as a colonial legacy, they came and ruled over us, but they left English behind her. And if you really look at all the literature, an advantage is that we've appropriated the language as one of our languages, and that is why we have Indian English. Indian English is a very important English, but we have Malishers and Banglishers and Tanglishers and different kinds of English, and all over the world we have the Creole formations, languages, native languages mixing with hybrid formation, in which native languages will actually mix with foreign languages. In fact, you must have been unfortunate enough to study one of the articles in the last semester. First year students would have studied in the last semester about, in which there was an article by myself in which I talk about femininity. Femininity is a word which is a mix of English as well as Malayalam. You see how we've appropriated the language, how we've appropriated both languages to make it our own. The feminist, which is a derogatory term, of course, in English and in our culture, in cultures across the world. Misogyny, because it is patriarchy, informs patriarchal ideology, everything. So feminist is always seen as, when we say our feminist, majority would consider, or else I must proudly declare that I am a feminist. There's no compromise, I am a. Otherwise, it is seen as we use it as a derogatory, feminist and the derogatory term. So feminist, the term feminist, which is used in a derogative manner, becomes potentially more powerful, amplified. The power is amplified. The derogatory, the negative power is so amplified when you actually mix femininity from Achi Jaridam, and you know how Achi has come into Malayalam, and what is the historical cultural and historical baggage which comes with the Achi Charidam. And we know in Malayalam has used Achi to, from the beginning we've used it in a derogatory manner. Tammadichi, Tevadichi, Achi is for a lot of things. So Achi is a suffix which can be, which can make already negative feminist as a even more potentially a lot more powerful femininity. Okay, so this is how we appropriated the language. So we made the language ours. We borrowed copiously from this thing. We've enriched our own language, Malayalam, and also our language has also sort of in turn has contributed to English. Wife house. അത് ടിപ്പിക്കലി മെട്രിലീനി എന്ന് വന്നതായിരിക്കും, ഭാര്യ വീട്ടിൽ പോകുക എന്നുള്ള അർത്ഥത്തിലാണ് നമ്മൾ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത്. മെട്രിലീനി എന്നല്ല, എന്ത് wife house. Nobody uses the word wife house. Only in this part of the country we use the word wife house. And people actually, when I in my class abroad, they were shocked to hear me use the word postpone, because apparently they don't use the word prepone. They don't use the word prepone. They use only postpone. So prepone is used in in India. So many things that we use as common, as normal English may not be what is known as may not be part of standardized English. So it is only a matter when they often used to make fun of me. My classmates often used to make fun of me, saying that I was speaking like like in colonial times. ഏതോ പഴയ ജവാന്റെ കാലത്തെ ഭാഷയാ പറയുന്നത്, antiquated language. They said I was speaking an ancient language, an out-of-date language, an archaic language, an antiquated language, because I was speaking like in the books, but they were speaking constantly, not using big words, but rather going for phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are this verb plus preposition combination. So phrasal verbs, you rampantly speak with phrasal verbs, whereas I would always speak with big words. So they found that my English was English speaking an antiquated bookish language. It is normal because we learn from the books. We don't learn from, but I think this generation is changing. This generation is probably learning from media more than anything else. But one can't, of course, you will have to decide which media, make media persons speak English, which could be, good to follow or not to follow, etc. There are correct variation, perfect variations. You just look for clarity. You just look for speech which you think you can do. And it is also about, I constantly tell my students, also about realigning your tongue to speak English. We're constantly moving from English to Malayalam, and that is why conveniently we've begun to use Manglish. Because it is easy. It is easy for us to move from, instead of to a more difficult English, or instead of sticking to a more formal Malayalam, we would rather go for a combination of Manglish. It is quite easy to do, and you can constantly shift from one language to another. Code of one language is different from another language. So this is what we do. So we have so many varieties of English. At least try practicing with a variety that you know, variety that familiar with, variety that you would like to emulate or imitate. So what you do is, I always tell my students, it is about your tongue, is aligning your tongue to move from one language to, like we speak English, we speak Malayalam in a very relaxed manner, the same manner we will speak, we'll try to speak English in the same manner. Automatically there will be an interference like that. The other issue is that, your for English requires a different kind of tongue movement. It is not the tongue movement that Malayalam requires. So it is also about practicing, because I was a language trainer abroad. After I did my certification for 4 years, I was a language trainer, and I spoke an okay English, not the kind of English that I'm speaking here now, because I'm speaking to set of people. I was speaking to people who wanted to learn English. So automatically my language is also different, because I was giving them a model to emulate. I didn't know that whether it was a good, for sure, whether it was a good model or not, but they seemed okay with that model. So I was trying to give them a model to emulate. So it was constantly, one large part of those language classes would be about repeating sentence. So you want to speak, you want to go for an interview, write down what you may say. And repeat it again and again and again, and record it and see, and again repeat, record it and see. So automatically what you realize is that there are so many things which, so many places where you could do better than what you've done in your first recording. So this is a practical method that is a world over to learn English. Because anyway, English is definitely here to say. English has become an Indian language. English is seen as aspirational language, a language of people who are aspiring to success. It doesn't mean that you will not be successful without English, but there is a greater chance for you to succeed in life if you have English. So it's all about learning to English. We this issue about, first of all, we understand there are so many Englishes, but we will never recognize those, though we may know, we will always be worried about whether we are speaking in the manner or not. You don't have to necessarily have to speak in the right manner, but try speaking. Try speaking like how the Tamilians and Telugu people would do. Many of them, ordinary people, are generally not speaking Pakka, what we would have called once upon a time called Pakka English. They're all speaking their regionally informed, which are informed by their regional languages. So as you speak, it is just about the ease of speaking. Once you develop the ease of speaking and start thinking in English, start that is difficult to do because we'll constantly think also in Malayalam. But it is a training. When you don't have any option, you will learn how to think in English. So once you learn how to think in English, it is quite. But for that, you constantly work on English, constantly go to. Now we have so many resources. I know that I'm talking to students who are not English literature students. I'm not looking at the English literature aspect of it, the colonial, the sociological, linguistic, literariness, language about the issues about those things. I'm only looking at how do you of English, one of the Englishes which may help you to use the language in a better manner, in an easy manner. So it is about, first of all, it is about realizing that there are so many Englishes, there is an Indian English variety. Within that Indian English varieties, there are variant kinds of Englishes. It is also about, then the day you decide to speak, it is all about that important decision. Once you've made that important decision, you shift to English, try to speak. Even people may laugh at you. In Kerala, that's a problem when you start speaking English in public. From when we were at the university, we hardly spoke English. But some of us used to try laboring to speak English in the class. And then getting, continuing to speak in the buses as well. But often we had to face so much of ridicule from the people because we were the English speaking. So automatically you get inhibited and you don't speak. Automatically you stop. But I think the younger generation is changing. The younger generation is using a lot more of English, which they pick up not from the book, but from mass media. And that therein lies a lot of hope. So hopefully all of you who are listening will understand that there is no single, but many Englishes. English is the global resource of English, which we can actually make use of. Because if you go now, the whole idea of English literature, for the literature students, the whole idea of literature itself is changing. We can no longer, we don't study English literature anymore. We're not learning the English, the literature of British Isles. We are learning the English literatures of different parts of the world. Our own literature written in English, Indian literature written in English. We're also learning in literature, regional literature translated into English. So we have so many varieties and variants of English. So we don't have any consolidated or some idea or some sacrosanct idea of what should be Pakka English and what should be the other kinds of English. There are so many varieties. Pick and choose and try using the language. You can actually try speaking to yourself, maybe form a WhatsApp group where you start practicing. All of you can laugh at yourself, it's better. You'll make so many bloopers and so many mistakes. It doesn't matter. Because you're doing a service to, that's what I always tell my students, you're doing a service to, we are all doing a service to literature. Like when I am translating, I'm able to translate because I know Malayalam. And when I'm translating Malayalam literature into English, I'm actually doing a service to literature. I'm actually doing a service to English as well, because so many new words and new experiences, new ways of expressing life, looking at the world are, being carried across to their culture, their language. When they read. When outsiders read, not even non-Malayalis, including non-Malayalis, read our literature or our literary texts, they're enriching them with new cultural experiences, new ways of expressions, new kinds of living, etc., etc. So they're getting enriched by this. So we're doing a service by speaking the language. So pick up the language, start speaking, forget your inhibitions. It is always keep in mind that this is not your born language or language that you're born with, but a language in which you're trying to speak. So try speaking, try to make it as simple as possible, as clear as possible. Don't put on unnecessary accents. The problem is when you learn from media is also that you learn a lot of things. Like I have students who come and tell me, in front, there are a lot of different kinds of formal situations. In Malayalam, will be easily recognized. Achanodu samsarikkunna ഭാഷയായിരിക്കില്ല, ടീച്ചറോട് സംസാരിക്കുന്ന ഭാഷയായിരിക്കില്ല, നാളെ കളക്ടർ മുന്നിൽ സംസാരിക്കുന്നു എന്നുള്ളത് നമുക്ക് അറിയാം. പക്ഷെ ഇതിൽ വരുമ്പോൾ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലേക്ക് വരുമ്പോൾ അതിൽ മാർക്ക് പോകും. ബിക്കോസ് ദേ പിക്ക് അപ്പ് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ഫ്രം ഹിയർ ആൻഡ് ദേർ. media. So often students tell me, yeah, ma'am. Even in a formal situation for an interview, a teacher comes and teacher will say, yeah, I did that, instead of yes. So you need to know to use what. Keep watching movies, keep watching serials, keep watching whatever you can. Listen to news, different kinds of news, and also radio, which actually radio, not in the Malayalam English radio, but English broadcasts. Especially if you are listening to, if you make it a habit to listen to the Delhi broadcast, automatically you pick up good English, English which is clear, which is clarity, which is spoken with a right amount of stress, and automatically it's an automatic process. You're not laboring to learn it. Constantly you listen, you just switch it on. Constantly you listen, constantly you pick up, because I've seen that happening with people. So remember, it's all about your decision to speak English. With that, we'll come to an end. I just wanted it to be a very informal session wherein we'll talk about different Englishes, many varieties of English. We don't use English with an E capital. We don't necessarily have to use with English with an E capital anymore, but don't pick up. അത് മാസ് മീഡിയ പഠിച്ചതുപോലെ ഗോണ ഗോച്ച എന്നെല്ലാം പറയുന്ന I'm gonna go, ma'am. Sorry. Because they picked it up right from this thing. So understand that there are informal Englishes and formal Englishes, like any language for that matter. And various kinds of this thing. But it is about picking up from, see which is good, and also make use of copiously plenty of resources which were available. Because when I personally, I would like to say this, I used to be teaching, I was teaching students for a long time before I went for this course, but this course was actually an eye-opener. I think all of us must do that, because after എൻ്റെ എല്ലാ അഹന്തകളും അലിഞ്ഞങ്ങ് പോയി. കാരണം അവിടെ ചെന്നപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്നത് പല സാധനങ്ങളും ശരിക്കല്ല പഠിച്ചിട്ടത്. I have not learned grammar. I knew grammar because intuitively it would be more or less correct, but there are so many things that one had to learn, because one was teaching students, and one had to teach the students not in the traditional manner, but in a different manner, in an interesting manner, so that they will automatically pick up the grammatical units and grammatical structures, etc. Then I realized that internet is my guru. It is from me. I learned, I went after, just imagine, after doing my PhD, after writing a thesis, after teaching for many years, I went back to the internet, to the ESL, English language teaching sites, and English, there are so many language sites which will actually, your teachers will help you, language learning sites where you can actually practice and you can learn right from the beginning, right from prepositions, right from articles, right from grammatical units which seem to kill you now, which may seem like a kiramuti now, will become easy peasy when you rely on those resources. So make the resources, use it now. Make use of the resources. Try to read aloud so that your tongue gets accustomed to Malayalam to English and Malayalam to English transition. So let the tongue get accustomed to different tongue positions, and so that you can easily move from to I am not coming. Your mouth changes, your tongue changes, position changes, etc. So make use of ESL sites, English as a second language sites, English as a foreign language sites, etc., where you can learn right from the beginning. Do your graded this thing. No one is going to mark you there, right? So you can do your graded levels of grammar tests, elementary, intermediate, advanced, etc. So keep doing it so that you will automatically pick up the language, and you will be, quite confident about using language. Once you know what is in and on, and once you know that you're going you're in the room, and once you know that you're on the train, once you know you are at the bus stop, etc., you will not be stuck for word. You will not be stuck by grammatical units and confusion errors. So remember all that. Get all your basic factors right. Let it be. It's okay if I can learn grammar after many years, after my PhD and many years of teaching, and I'm fairly good with English. I was very confident, but I had to relearn grammar right from the beginning. So you can also start relearning English, and it'll really help you. Not because I did it, because it'll help you. It will help you Just need to be confident about English, and then comes the choice of you start speaking English. I think that is enough for today. Thank you very much. If you have any questions or anything you would like to ask me, I would only be happy to do it.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Tell me.
Can you share some tips about improving our dialects, like rolling R's and all? R.
You don't necessarily have to roll your R's too much. The problem with what I've noticed is that this is something which has come from the TV as well. Many comedians speak with unnecessary rolling of their tongues. What happens is that you will speak in such combinations with the accent, automatically clarity is not there. And clarity is because you're rolling clarity suffers tremendously because you're rolling your this thing. And rolling actually, rolling is good. If you speak slow, it gives you the right pace. If you speak it initially when you're speaking, don't speak fast. Try to speak as slow as possible so that when you have time the next word. And automatically the next word will come in line. So it is as if the words are marching and waiting. They're waiting in line and marching. When you're rolling, a lot of people are rolling because rolling also gives them time. I know instead of saying, where are you going? Requires more actually what happens is suffer. You have to roll your R's so much. You just need to speak in a play. You don't necessarily have to. Malayalam, the problem of Malayalam, നമ്മൾ ഇട്ടെന്ന് പറയുന്നത് കൊണ്ട് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ടീച്ചർ ആറില്ല ലാസ്റ്റത്തെ മാറിയില്ല. It's something which has come from friends.
ഓ 6 റൂൾസ് അല്ലേ?
വളരെ emphasize ചെയ്ത് പറയുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ there is no issue of rolling the R's there. So you don't necessarily have to pick up the keep listening, keep doing the back and call your don't unnecessarily stress your R's when you move from Malayalam to English. അതല്ലേ ടീച്ചർ എന്ന് പറയണ്ട, ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലെത്തുമ്പോൾ ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക്കലി ഡോക്ടർ മലയാളത്തിൽ നമ്മൾ ഡോക്ടർ എടുത്ത് പോകുന്ന ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലെത്തുമ്പോൾ ഐ എം ഗോയിങ് ടു ദ ഡോക്ടർ നിർത്തി. സാറ് നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിന്റെ ആറാണ്, മലയാളത്തിൽ ആറല്ല ഇംഗ്ലീഷിന് ആറ്. You don't necessarily have to roll your R's. That's typically American English. That's why students prefer that. We are going there. Take a lot of time to roll their R's and also make sure that the next word comes right in time. I hope it answers your question. Sorry, for interruptions because I'm the principal in charge here. Dendave Kumbadiyan talking food. Anything enough? Shall we wind up? Any other questions?
Yes, which is the correct way to spell words like realize, memorize, etc., where we want to use S or Z?
Yeah, that's all about British in English, American spelling. So that's why I said you make use of so many. There are so many sites teaching you English from the basic units. So go to those sites, get it all clear. There are so many shortcuts and formulas which you can use for that. So many rhymes which to get your spellings right, etc. So go to those sites and find out and get all your basic structures right. So once you're confident about that, you will be able to speak proper. A lot more easy manner. Diljit, I hope you'll make use of the sites.
Okay.
All right, go to about.com, for instance. There's many sites. Just type out capital ESL, English as a second. ESL, English as a foreign language. Go to those sites. There are plenty of sites with exercises, graded exercises, etc. So try out all that. So by the time you do it for 2 months, you will be thorough with that. And once you're confident about what you're doing, once you're confident about what is the right usage and what is not the right usage, then automatically language will be far more confident speaking language and writing as well. Okay. Shall we wind up then? Reggie, come on.
Hello.
Okay. If not much questions, Raji sir, let us make the conclusion or the concluding session, make it the concluding session
There is
because
nothing
we
more
started.
question as such.
Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Shall we invite principal?
Excuse me, sir.
Okay. Somebody speaking.
Sir,
Surya.
someone has typed a question in chat box.
Okay.
Please read it out, Surya.
Will you read it out?
You read it?
Yes, ma'am, I'll read it out. Hi, ma'am. Can you speak about one of your favorite books in English or about a book which made you fall in love with English?
That's a difficult question. There are no favorite books as such. I simply can't. People keep asking me this. And I don't have favorite books. All these books that you read when you were growing up, I don't know, Midnight Children is a favorite. Vira is a favorite. A lot of books are favorite. I can't actually say that I have one particular things that you read, things that they are actually companions for life. They can't stay with you. So automatically you stay with you. I read children. I like God of Small Things, Russian literature, Marquez. All that you read becomes your favorite. Others you will forget. What you don't like, you will forget. So all that I can remember are my favorite. Shall we wind up then?
Register, if not much questions, let us make a concluding session. Please invite the principal because this is the final day of the long series of our seminars, started from 22nd of October. And Fathima has made an end to the session today. And the principal will speak a few words in this concluding session. Register, please invite our principal to share some words.
Now I invite Principal Dr. Ajita V to speak a few words.
Respected Chief Guest, Dr. E.V. Fathima, English Department HOD, Dr. Reggie Paikat, IQAC Coordinator, Pramod Kumar KV, other faculties, and my dear students. Today is the last session of our webinar series. Actually, our college IQAC made a very bold attempt for you in this COVID-19 situation. As you know, doing right things at the right time in the right way produces the right result. In other words, knowing what to do at what time, in what direction, and how are the various parameters that leads to sure success. For this, our knowledge gives power to mobilize the things in right direction. So, we can say that knowledge is power. Knowledge can acquire from these type of webinars. So, I hope our 1 week webinar was very effective and helped you to overcome the problems you face. Now, I am going to stop. Once again, I thank our IQAC coordinator, Pramod sir, and all my colleagues. I also express my gratitude towards our manager, Sri C.V. Joseph sir, for his valuable support. I wish all the best to one and all. Thank you.